In this video, let's understand what a Floyd triangle is and how to implement this. Now, according to the requirement, we need to print the output of numbers, natural numbers from 1 to n numbers in a triangle format, where if you notice the pattern here, row number 1 has one element, row number 2 has two elements, 3 has three elements, so on and so forth. And it's not just elements, it is just a continuation of numbers starting from 1 all the way until number 15. So this is the pattern we are supposed to print. And let's try and do this without using any arrays. And we will look into how we can do it with arrays as required. So let's go to VS Code to implement this, the Floyd triangle. Now, we understand that this will involve loops since we are repeatedly printing something. But I would also want to see how we can print something repeatedly in this pattern, not necessarily um, a natural number. And for that, let me start with a for loop. So I can always use these snippets. So it'll just make my typing work easier. So if I use this snippet, I'll do get something like this. I can use that, but in the interest of time right now, I do have, or let me just go ahead and do it. Let's say I equal, let's say 4. Let's say we'll only print 4 rows now, and I'll again print something here. It should be basically j. So now if you notice there in the diagram, each row has row number of columns. So it's a clear indicative that I need to have the column, or in fact, this is the um, index representing the column. So the number of columns has to be equal to the number of rows. And I mean, if it makes it any more easier to understand, I can actually use 1 here and go all the way with less than equal to 4. But then since we are planning to use arrays, it's not a good idea to begin with 1. So we'll just stick with 0 indexes here. And we need to, let's try just printing. Remember, we are not supposed to have spaces in between each column. So we'll just put here as console.writeLine. I'm sorry, console.write star. So I'm just trying to print some stars here, and then we will progress on to something else other than star. And we know that at the end of each row, we need to have a console.writeLine so that we can move to the next line. In fact, here, we can also format this better. We'll see this later. And this is the only statement. Whenever you have only one statement, the braces are optional. So I can also simplify this something like this. And let's see what happens with this. So basically, I'm just trying to explore it. Yeah, so we do get that one, then 2 followed by 3 and 4. If we wanted some spacing, we could also add that a little later. Now that we've printed this pattern, I mean, we can replace this and print any thing around that. Unlike a Pascal triangle, we don't have the stringent requirements of spacing it like an equilateral triangle. So we don't have to come up with any specific spacing logic here. But now all that I have to do to print a Pascal triangle of this format is to replace stars with natural numbers. And how do I replace this with number? So let's say I just had some integer here called num, and I happen to make it 1 here. So I'll just go ahead and print that. But if I keep doing this, I might just get all nums. But still, it would be in that pattern itself. So instead of printing the star, we are just printing the number, which is 1. But then I wanted it to continue. The natural numbers has to continue. We need to not repeat it. So all I had to do is just plus plus, or I could have probably incremented it elsewhere in the loop also. But here I'm using the post increment operator plus plus, thereby still getting this. But if you notice the last line, because of the involvement of a two-digit number 10, the spacing is not all right. So we need to space it to digits minimum. But then we might have bigger numbers also. So what we can do is we can use a string interpolation operator and bind this inside an expression and probably space it for 3 numbers or 4 numbers as required, and then probably go ahead and print it. We still don't see spacing. Let me see if I missed out anything. Okay. Yes. So basically, the spacing had to be inside it. Meaning, let me put a 3 here and see if that goes. It would end up printing it in a literal way. So let me put 3 here. Right. So if I just ended up putting the 3 outside this, it would print me 3 literally. So hoping this will go through this time. Yeah, so we see that the spacing is better. In fact, 2 digits plus 1 space extra. So it will be we will be good until the number 99, and then we might have to go one more spacing extra. So we could print a Floyd triangle without actually storing these values in a array. Okay. Uh, but the requirement is that we need to use the jagged array, and we need to store these values inside it and then go ahead and print the contents of the jag array. So probably in the next video, we'll see how we can do that.